Okay, this video is going to be about the Celtic Cross spread, and it may end up being 2 because of the 10-minute limit on YouTube, but I'll see what I can do. So this is about the Celtic Cross, and I want to make the point that when you do a Celtic Cross spread, it's a bit like dealing with a Shakespeare play, which, even if we're not that familiar with the plays themselves, we know that they're complicated and there's a lot going on, and you've got different interrelationships between people, and people have different reasons for acting and doing what they do. So we can understand a Celtic Cross the same way. It can be straightforward and simple, or you can give a simple outline of what the spread shows. So for instance, with Romeo and Juliet, we could say a young couple continue to see each other in spite of the family's objections, and it ends badly. And that's the story of Romeo and Juliet. And so in the same way, the Celtic Cross, let's say somebody wants to know what does the future hold, and the Celtic Cross shows that you're going to meet somebody, fall in love, have a couple of children, and live happily ever after. And that's the basic outline of what's going to happen to the person. But in the same way that with a Shakespeare play you can bring in details. So with the Celtic Cross, you could, for instance, look at the eighth card, which is going to be over here, which shows the influence of other people. And so maybe it shows an older woman, and it's upside down. And so we could say that watch out for your in-laws. Let's say it's a queen upside down. Watch out for your mother-in-law, because it's going to take her time to warm up to you. And so don't expect too much too soon. In the long run, she's going to be okay, but not in the early days, we could say. Or depending on the card, the first couple of cards, we can say, yes, you're going to meet somebody and have a good relationship, but you first have to agree on what the long-term relationship is going to be about. And when you understand how you can be a good team, let's say, then you're going to be that much happier. So I think that's the point that I want to make. So let's say we're going to do a Celtic Cross. One thing to consider is, are you going to have a significator? Some books and people will tell you, depending on the person's hair colour or eye colour, you would choose a king, a queen, a knight, or a page, depending on the sex of the individual as well. And I never liked that. I never really understood. Well, it didn't appeal to me. So the Queen of Cups can be an older woman because it's a queen, and I can't remember the attribute. Maybe it's like I don't know, a blonde-haired woman, Queen of Cups. A dark-haired woman with the Queen of Pentacles. And so you can do that if you want. I say I don't like doing it. You could even choose a card at random to represent the questioner. So the significator for you is the Seven of Pentacles upside down. And so that can be an indication that you're concerned about money, or let's say you can't make up your mind about what you're going to do with yourself in the future. And that would be some kind of indication of what the reading is about. As I say, I don't like taking a card from the deck, because then I'm only using 77 cards. If I put one there, I want to get 77, and I like to use all 78. So you do the shuffling and you do the cutting and all the rest of it, and then you lay the cards. And so, okay, so that's the first card, and there are different ways or different orders in which to lay cards. I put the first one, the second one goes across, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, 7, 8, 9, 10, like that. And I'm going to tell you in some detail what the different positions would mean. Other people go 1, 2, and then they go 3, 4, 5, 6, and they're sort of repeating the idea of a cross. I ended up, or in the beginning I learned one method and just stuck with it. There didn't seem any point in changing it. So I'll tell you what I do and what I like to do, but you can find that you have your own method that works well for you. So the first card, I think everyone puts the first card here and it goes there in the middle, and it represents the atmosphere surrounding the question. And so I mentioned before about it being a Shakespeare play, so by all means turn the card and see what it shows, but take your time, don't rush. because the first card is the atmosphere surrounding the question. And so let's say we turn this around and get the Ace of Swords. Okay? Instead of, if you haven't got much to say, think it through rather than say one thing and immediately move on to the second card. If you make yourself go slowly, you're going to be pleased and surprised at what you see there, or what you come up with, or what you put together for the questioner. So this Ace of Swords, for instance, Ace is number 1, and it means a beginning. So the atmosphere surrounding the question is, it's a time of new beginnings. It's swords, so you may, because we can think of swords as being hardship, you may decide that you don't want a new beginning, or there's something not quite right about it, if you look at swords as being hardship. But at the same time, a sword is a sharp instrument. So it's a new beginning, and it's a time to cut through, to use the sword to cut through stuff that's getting in the way, or things that you ought to have got rid of a long time ago. And the questioner will know whether there's certain things they want to get rid of, but they don't have the courage. And so by showing them the sword and encouraging them to, or pointing out that they can take the sword in hand and cut through what really ought to be got rid of, you can open up the understanding in the questioner that that now is a time of fresh beginnings, a time for taking decisive action. If you think of a sword as being an instrument that it allows decisive action. Whereas if it's upside down, it's telling you something else. Maybe all of what we just said is valid, but the person doesn't see it that way. So the first card, the atmosphere surrounding the question, and you, the reader, take time to understand what that is telling you, or what it might mean. And something I'd like to say at the moment is, it's sort of nice to be able to tell people amazing, fantastic stuff they've never thought of, and they accept. But a lot of what cards reveal will often be just basic things that they ought to know, or basic information that it's useful for the person to understand. So you don't need earth-shattering, mind-blowing information that you give to the questioner. Simple, clean statements work just as well, because a simple thing can make all the difference in your life, as you know. I mean, somebody can have said something simple and you think, that was so easy and so simple. How come I didn't understand it before? How come I heard it so often and it never sank in? And that can be what a tarot reading is about. Telling people simple things, only this time they sink in and the people understand what's being said, and they can take valuable information and do something with it and make a small improvement or a small change that leads to a big improvement in their life. So pay attention to the first card. It's the atmosphere. It's also tells you something about the questioner at that moment, because the first card represents you, the questioner.